I said the referencing, there are rules, you can check them on the internet, you can check them in this file. There are various reasons for it. The one reason I said you are entering not just university as an institutional building, but it's a certain context within which you work, within which we work. And of course there's this context, it's characterized by competition, by likes and dislikes and whatsoever. But nevertheless, there is still this notion of what is called fairness and scientific community. And if you don't want to take these terms like scientific community, think about something very simple. We discuss something in class, and you have a great idea. But there is actually a certain way to tell the apple not to fall. And it works. And then I go out and say, actually, I have had a great idea. This law of Isaac Newton, it's fine, but it's kind of all rubbish. There's another law, and I talk about this, I publish about this, I write books about it, I get the Nobel Prize and whatsoever. And then you say, well, sorry, this was my idea. I said, why? When was this your idea? This was my idea. Look, you see all the references there, you see publications on it. You wouldn't like this, I guess. And it is part of this fair referencing. Say, this is what you said, this is what he said. Make it clear. It is as well something when it comes to legal cases. In finance, you may face something like it. You give some advice in terms of investment or whatsoever. And you say, well, listen, these are the facts. These are the figures. So you should invest, do this and that. And then the entire thing collapses. Your customer is not just unhappy, but says, listen, you told me something that was wrong, and you are liable for it. If you have proper reference, you are still liable for it, but only for the part of what you are liable for. And this is that you took data from somewhere without checking them, possibly. But if you take due care, as it's called, if you check the data and you say, look, this is the source from where I have the data. This may be relevant for financing, this may be relevant for anything. If you are able to say, this is not what I said, but this is what I have from here, nothing can happen to you. Nothing means at least somebody has to prove that you should have known that these data are not necessarily trustworthy. So it is this legality, and it is your responsibility towards others. And it is as well about this standardization. I'm not into technology, but there's one reason for the ease that we can find things on the internet. Because there's a standard code. Whatever is on the internet is coded in a specific way. And because of this, it's very easy to find what it is, where it is. If you look at your search engines, you have, I don't know, sometimes you have this 1 million hits in 0.0024 seconds. Because everything is standardized, everything has the same code, and that's very easy to find out. If I have to translate, it's getting difficult. But even this translation is easy for the computer because it's down to a certain standard code. Retrievable, I don't know if it happened to you. You find something, some sentence, you hear something, you pick something up, you find it on the internet, you read something. You think, that's great, and you read on. And then you work on something or you talk about something with somebody, and then you say, I read something, or where did I read it? Where did I find it? It sometimes takes ages to retrieve it. And if you read something in a book, in a journal, it should be easy for you as reader to say, okay, this is the reference, I can easily find it back. Standard way of quoting. Important, always if you go to the internet, put the date. When did you find it? Things change so fast. Things can be changed online. And sometimes you have a different version in week 20 and in week 25. Put the date onto it. So this is something about your responsibility, being correct, being concise, making it easy for the reader to find things. And this is, of course, very easy, very simple. But there are some basic rules we forget quite often. Can anybody read this? Don't know. Supposedly it's not the easiest one. But I'm not waiting for you to read this. But you may find something in a text quoting, sorry about my pronunciation, Yin Luxiang. The title, New York, 2009. Oh, great, he's still alive. I thought he would be dead. But 2000 he wrote something. So he must be alive. Or is it somebody else? Same name? What is there? Make clear to the reader, and there is a good reason for it. Make clear to the reader when was this written and where was this written. It's not New York. It's not 2009. It is 1279 Fujian province in China. It makes a huge, huge difference. And sometimes it is important to know about this difference, and sometimes it is not easy to find out. With such a document, you see immediately it is not 2009. With other cases, you don't. With other statements, with some statements, it's very clear. You have an idea when this was written, when this was stated. Sometimes it's not clear. And it makes a difference to the statement. Even if you don't have such a precise date, it's printed 1279, it's not written then. Give an idea. If it is a translation, tell the reader, including teachers, from where is this translation? Is it your translation? Is it the translation of the publication in 2009, New York, translated by John Smith? Or is it another edition, 1965, by Brian, I don't know. I know books that had been translated and that had been translated 10 years later because people had not been happy with the previous translation. They said, this is not what the author stated. So make clear to which translation you refer. Make clear, I had not been happy with any translation, I translated it myself. You can do so, if you have a reason for it, but say it. Very simple technical issue. And there's another technical issue. It's correct quotation, correct way of citing. You read in a book or journal or the report of a court case in the newspaper, this is a key. And you have even a picture of a key. And you quote this. There's, of course, an author of this article. It's Seamus O'Toole. And he said, this is a key. I quote this. I, Peter Harman, quote Seamus. Seamus state, this is a key. But actually, I said context is important. Listen to it. Context is important, not the telephone. He said, Seamus, you suppose this is a key. This is a completely different sentence. I can just take this one part, this is a key, quote this, literally word by word in the article with proper reference. But actually this is not what had been written there. It had been written, he said, you suppose this is a key. But he said, you suppose, quotation mark, this is a key, is a wrong statement. Okay, the one thing is you quote the entire sentence. It's not just this is a key. You quote the sentence including the quotation marks. And then you scratch your head and say, but this is a key, I can see it. So what's the point? And the point is very simple. This is what you have to learn as well. Be precise, be concise, and deliver the context. You said you suppose this is a key, is a wrong statement because it is only the representation of a key. This is not a key. This is a key. That's a drawing, a picture, a photo of a key. This is a key. And these are completely different things. So think about it. From this is a key, yes, this is a key, of course, I see it. You come to the conclusion, this is rubbish, it's not a key, but it is correct, this is a representation of a key, and this is a key. Huge differences, even if you think, I didn't do anything wrong, I just stated what had been written there. This is a key. Context is important in terms of the technique in terms of correct way of quoting, of citing, but as well in terms of understanding. And then I come back to the textbook. As I said, I'm not entirely against it. The only thing what I want to say and what I want to make you aware of is be careful if you use them. Learning skills, this book I mentioned, which I will put into the library, that's just one page, a bad copy made with a phone. This is manipulation, sorry. This is nothing else than manipulation. Start a reflexive learning journal now. Sit down, do it now. Don't read first the other stuff. Sit down, do it now. Then you have highlighted what is important by different headings and. This is important, without doubt. But don't be deceived by it. Don't rely on what had been proposed by the author of the book. Rely on what you explore, how you explore the context, how you read the entire thing, and then you may agree with this, you may take it as a tool, or you make up your own things. This is important for you as part of learning. Use the tools that are there and at the same time try not to be deceived by them. In which way ever, be it the selection of books, or be it the way of writing books, be it the learning, or be it the research, there is a value statement. I mentioned this before. There's something you want to do with it, and there's something you want to tell others. This is relevant, and this is what you should know. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong. There is value statements, and we need them. And even if we don't need them, we cannot avoid them. But we have to be aware of them. There's a good reason that I want to sit under the apple tree and want to have the apple falling down there and not on my head. This is a value statement. There's a good reason that I have some ideas and that I am aware of why I have these ideas and why I use them. And why I use them in this way. When I prepared for today, there was a story coming to my mind. These once upon a time things. And once upon a time, I read something of an experiment vaguely remembering what this was about. And it was basically the story of a scientific experiment. I knew that, I remembered that. A photo, a picture, a depiction had been shown to somebody. You see this for 2 minutes, and then I take this depiction away, and you have to tell her what you saw. And only she hears it. Then you tell it to the next one. Only you hear it. And so on and so forth. As I said, I remembered vaguely. It was an American thing. It was about a black person a black man, a black woman, a white woman, and a white man. The white man threatened the white woman, and the black man came there to help her. The story had been told, and this is what you saw, and at the end, the story was about a black man raping a white woman, and the white man saving her, coming to help her. So this is what I vaguely remembered. And I tried to find it on the internet. I didn't find it. I was writing an email to a friend, colleague, and I thought, actually, by the way, maybe that you heard about it. Can you tell me? And after sending the email, I looked it up again, checked on the internet, do I find anything? And 2 minutes later, I actually found something. It's called Zebra Fact Check. I don't trust these people, but I gave up to trust anybody. It actually has something on an experience, on an experiment that at least has some repercussion on this. And the entire thing, I will put it onto Blackboard, the entire thing shows that the reporting on this experiment occurred in different ways and in very different ways. The original experiment, the original description, had not been found. So everybody used it in a kind of deliberate way. Oh yeah, I heard something, somebody wrote something about it, and I just put it down. There was no proper reference. It was hugely interesting for me. I looked up chaos theory, I looked up psychology stuff, and I was just playing around. Was interesting, was useful for this. It's sometimes useful to do something useless. Anyway, you don't really know sometimes what is the exact source. So try always to go back as far as you can to have a reliable source. And if you don't find it, say, I didn't find it, but I heard something. Fair enough. But don't say, this experiment had been made at a famous university and blah, 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 and whatsoever. Be honest. Be reliable. I found in this context Mother Jones. I don't know if I believe her. There's no proper reference in here. But there's something at least that should make us thinking as well, even if we don't have the proper reference. And this is why I said I browsed around, I checked this and that website, and I thought there are interesting things. Mother Jones studied people are quicker to shoot a black target than a white target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people are in danger, black t-shirt. I don't know how many white t-shirts and stuff. There is apparently, and this is what they don't reference probably, there is apparently something going on that there is this prejudice in the United States, and this, what they describe is a relatively complex setting, that people are faster, quicker to shoot if they see something or somebody who is black. And you find this in reality. If you go to the United States over the last couple of months, this is exactly what happened. Completely innocent people, black people, had been shot because they had been black. So it is worthwhile to look at these studies, but always look exactly at what is behind it. This is simply unfair, as well unfair to me. There is a graph. Graphs always seem to be scientific. Gives the impression, yeah, this is really valid and hard data. And there is even a source, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, 2007. Do they expect me to read 1 year the journal of under this title? Can't they be precise and say, this journal, this edition, this issue, page so-and-so? This is an ongoing chain. They don't do it. I don't know what they did in their study, and I don't know what they did in the study they refer to. Be precise. There's nothing wrong, even if you should try to avoid, there's nothing wrong to quote something that is not correct, but quote it. Be fair. Be fair to yourself. There are these values, there are these liabilities. As I said, I'm a very kind person, I think. I'm very supportive, I'm very open, and there is this one thing, plagiarism is something I don't want to accept. In whichever form. Means in technical forms of making reference, and it means in forms of naming the context. All the great utterances of men have to be judged not by the letter, but by the spirit which unfolds itself with the growth of life in history. So the technical side of making references is one thing. The other is, and this is what I mean with context, with when had been something written. It is not just the letter, this is a key. But it is this wider understanding what is actually said and what is meant. Include quotation marks. Include question marks or exclamation marks, if they are there. Of course, you can quote something and leave out part of the sentence or even a complete sentence. But make sure that from what you quote or from what you write, the spirit is getting clear. And I'm not talking about any metaphysical here. I'm talking simply about the meaning. The meaning of what does this mean? And we will come back later to it when we talk about economics. There is always a meaning to it. It's always part of a historical context, and it is always referring to a given society. This is a very old depiction of a hierarchical traditional society, if you do research for them or for them with the same data, the results will be different. One reason for it is that actually what you do is you ask different questions. And this is important. Make sure that the questions you ask are, or be aware of the fact that the questions you ask are value-loaded, are not neutral. Sometimes it's simply about stating facts. The apple does not fall up. But this is really a small part of what we are doing. Learn to live with this ambiguity, with these tensions, to figure out contradictions, different opinions, different values, and how they are implied in asking, how you ask a question. And this is a very tricky, difficult thing. I mentioned it en passant earlier, not today, when we talked about questionnaires. There's a bulk of studies made on questionnaires. You are interested in, this is the subject of your study, in the relations between people. Black people, white people, women, men, young people, old people. This is different questions on this. Do you trust old men? Do you trust old women, black women, whatsoever? Questionnaire, survey, or interview. And then I start. Could you tell me, if I don't see it, gender, age, income, education, things like this. First 5 questions, then I start with this, and then I think, thank you. And here I say, actually, everything you say will be anonymously. I won't make the personal information known to anybody. And you won't. I trust you. Now you do another thing. You ask the same questions, the same words and everything. You say up front, the same thing. Anonymous, trust me. No abuse of data. But you have the questions here now. Personal data. Who are you? Education, income, blah, blah, blah. The answers will be different. Be aware of it. It is the same with the economy. If you come to questions about economics, it's basically the same. You will have a certain approach to it. You are interested in employment growth, profit, gains, wage, external effects on the environment. And this decides if you want or not how you formulate the questions and the results. Because it does it anyway, do it consciously. Try to think, what can I do? What do I want to find out? And can I be to some extent neutral? Or to which extent? And then we stop here. Keep it in mind, we are never in one society where everything is equal and everything, even age matters. Everything matters, be aware of it, and there is a break that matters as well. We see 10 minutes or something, right?